Okay, we should be live both places.
Yeah.
I think.
I'm going to text Byron time to check both.
So are we starting this off with sometimes?
Yeah, not yet, though.
Oh, okay. We're talking first.
Yeah, I want to make sure we have everything good first.
Hey, Ryan, can you hear us?
Hey,
They're
buddy.
on the TikTok chat. All right, we got audio on TikTok.
Awesome.
Thank you, Ryan.
I text Byron to see if he'll check our YouTube, make sure we got audio going there, too. Oh, that's the fun thing about starting it is now that we know that we have audio between us, we have to make sure that we have audio to them because sometimes we'll have one and not the other or vice versa. But usually, if we have it all on TikTok, it's on YouTube as well.
I don't know why I keep checking if anybody texts me. My phone's been dead for an hour now.
Yeah, I should be able to check it on YouTube. Shows us live. Yeah, I should be able to check it. Yep. All right,
okay,
we're good on
cool.
YouTube too. Awesome. So everybody, sorry for the delay for you guys watching live that are coming in. Had a little bit of a delay with technical difficulty, as we normally say. We should just change the name to technical difficulties. But with us tonight for the first time is DJ Rittenhouse. DJ, how are we doing today?
Doing pretty good. How about you guys?
Good. Guys, we'll say this right up front. DJ's been sick here lately. He's gotten over it enough to be able to come onto the podcast. So we're going to do things a little bit different tonight. Instead of him playing music because his throat's hurting him, we're going to go ahead and play it over the speakers instead. And DJ, you said for your first song you wanted Sometimes, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So guys, if you don't know where to find this song, you can find it on all platforms. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. Sometimes by DJ Rittenhouse. It's also on our Tunes and Throttles playlist on Spotify as well. Farron, go ahead and play that for us. That is an absolute amazing song. DJ, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can't hear the song very well. I can hear bits and pieces
you
of it
couldn't
coming
hear
through.
Okay, maybe we got to turn that up next time. Everybody else said they could hear it pretty good, so
Good.
I absolutely love that song. I was talking to Fair and I said, it kind of reminds me of like mid to late 2000s or 90s kind of gospel almost,
Yeah.
So what's your story behind the song? Because every writer has a story behind every song they do, whether they wrote it or they just record it. There's a reason behind it.
Well, the idea of the song actually from the movie I was watching. There's a breakup scene rather, and this boy is like swooning over this girl, and she's like um, breaking it off with him, and you know when I seen that, I was like, hold up, sounds like a country song.
Well,
So
what
that's
was the
kind of
movie
where the
though?
idea
Is the
came from.
question.
Well, I don't even remember what the movie was per se, but um, my wife has a lot of chick flicks. I'm embarrassed to say, but I watch them occasionally.
Hey, dude, ain't nothing wrong with that. Chick flicks are great. I tell you what, my all time favorite chick flick. I think there's a couple of them, but I think my number one is The Notebook.
That's a good one.
It is a good one, man. It's a great story to it. There's a little bit of everything in it, So, there's nothing wrong with chick flicks, and like you said, something like that what inspires a song like that. It's a great song. It made me think of like kind of like a high school sweethearts type thing, going back and forth.
Yeah, that's kind of what it was. I said the scene was. I'm trying to remember what movie it was. It's been so long now,
Yeah,
but it was that coupled with dealing with my own stuff from the past. Everybody goes to breakup. It just is what it is.
yeah, yep. Well, and everybody has their own trials and tribulations to get through in life, and and
Yeah,
I've heard your testimony on a couple different podcasts there, with Red Dirt Disciple down there in Tennessee when you guys were doing the CMA Fest, and then on the Morning Jam with Coop there, I
yeah,
think that's actually, I think where I found you was either Red Dirt Disciple or the Morning Jam, one of the two, which you guys, I'm going to give a plug to them just because here, if you guys don't follow them on TikTok, Red Dirt Disciple, and I think it's just the Morning Jam with Coop, isn't it?
yeah,
Um, Definitely go pick those guys up and check them out. I know Red Dirt Disciples across all platforms as far as his podcast goes. Um, so we're trying
yeah.
to
I was
get
on Beat Farm too.
Beats Farms. Yep, that's right. I've seen their stuff. I haven't really checked into them a whole lot. I've talked to them quite a bit. Just while like in Red's stuff or something like that, I'll talk back and forth with them in the chat. I haven't really got to check their stuff out yet. It's kind of hard getting everybody all at the same time. Trying to follow
Yeah,
different artists while they're going live, trying to follow different podcasts while trying to find new artists for our podcast, because we're we're
yeah,
we're still we're still growing, we're still scheduling. I think we're scheduled out to October now. Um, we've got another couple dates in October to fill, and I think we're just going to continue rolling with it as people are available. So, but yeah, I'm trying to remember when I reached out to you about being on here. I know
it's 6 months ago.
yeah, it's been a while,
Yeah,
Let's say you've released one new song at least since then. Um, and that's been blowing up on Kicking Country, hasn't it?
yeah. I mean, they're playing it.
Yeah.
Um, I tried it. I tune in there when I can to hear it, but it's it's tough when you got a schedule like mine.
When you what?
It's tough when you have a schedule like mine. It's like all over the place.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I understand that. When I was over the road, it was pretty hard to schedule much of anything. Now that I'm not over the road, my daily lives have kind of died down, which I'm planning on picking back up this week if I can get it figured out. But just watching your progression in the last 6 months has been amazing. Um, Now, do you equate that to just putting more effort into it, or just getting some of the right contacts, or?
Yeah, I mean TikTok has been a big platform, networking and stuff like that. But um, just a lot of work. I've been working my tail off trying to get stuff out there. Some things paying out, some things don't.
Oh, we understand that. We spend a lot of time and effort talking with and pushing some of these artists that we're trying to get on the podcast or that we just believe in as far as their music career, and then that sometimes it pans out and sometimes it doesn't. It is what it is, and like I said, with your music, when I found you there on I want to say it was Red Dirt is where I found you originally. Yeah, because you and Phil were playing, and you guys started popping into my
Yeah,
room from time to time. Still waiting on Phil. I know he said he's got some stuff recording this month, I believe. Um,
yeah,
so
he's trying to get his stuff finalized.
yeah, so we're waiting on that one too. But we're just I'm over the moon having you on here. It's when I
Appreciate
reached
that.
when I reached out to you and you said yes, absolutely, I want to do it, whether I'm in person or we split screen, however we do it. I was like, okay, that's a far enough out mark, because you were really one of the first ones that we had a 6 month advance with, that we've actually kind of hit. Everybody else was kind of 2 to 3 months at a time. You were one of our first ones that we got that was a 6 month deal that we reached out to. So, and some of those that were 2 to 3 months or a couple weeks out, just canceled on us or kind of changed the way they want to chase their career. Um, so, getting somebody after 6 months, because we started this back in January.
Yeah,
Um, I think we've done okay. We just want to make sure that we build a platform that's good for you and artists like you that have good music that should be on the radio and that should be out there to build off of, to network off of. Some of our artists have already got teamed up and started working together on different projects and this, that, and the other, and that's great to see. Um, we've networked with Red Dirt and a couple other guys, just trying to get everybody kind of working together. Try to fight against the machine.
right.
as some of the guys say, Nashville's not a bad place, but sometimes it makes music harder to be what it should be.
That's true.
So now, and I'm not gonna ask your age because it's nobody's business. But how long have you been in music?
I've been singing since I was 5,
Been
so been at it
okay,
for a little while.
yeah. How long have you been actually chasing playing, whether it be playing live or your recording itself?
Well, I mean, I was a worship leader for 20 years. That really consumed my most of my music time.
You,
The church that I was going to, they kind of somewhat closed up. They're still open, but it's only like once a month that I go and help them out.
yeah,
But it's not every Sunday like it used to be.
yeah,
Um, so I decided to start putting my stuff out there. I've been waiting for a long time, and it just made sense to start putting my music out. Now, I know I'm kind of late in the game to get started. Of course, I've been singing for a long time. But, the actual releasing of the music and stuff, I'm pretty new to that.
yeah. Well, there's no such thing as too late. You know, Um, there's
Yep.
there's some guys that they they push around a little bit at the beginning, and then they push a little bit later. And there's some people that their music doesn't really get recognized until later in their life when they've kind of just said, it is what it is. It'll pick up or it won't. I'm just doing my own thing now, and they become legends because of that. You know,
Yeah.
and that's the thing too is as you know, and most other artists, trying to get recognition is not easy in the music business.
No, it
Um,
ain't.
there's a million other people out there trying to do the same thing in a different way or in the exact same way in some cases, and sometimes it comes down to who you know, and sometimes it just comes to luck. Sometimes it's faith. You know,
Yeah.
some people go in one direction because somebody told them to, and some people do because their faith is decided for them, and their career is up to that. But um, now we always ask this too. This is a pretty normal question for us here, and it's a slow pitch one, so don't worry. It's not one of the hard ones. Uh, what's
I'm good, man.
what's one of your big inspirations for music, like being as a kid or as a musician? Now, what's something that really got you into music itself?
Well, probably the biggest thing about being mom, yeah, she taught me how to sing. So
What was that?
my family, what's that?
Say that again.
So my biggest inspiration probably been my mother. Um, she taught me how to sing. I was 5 years old when she was teaching me. Um, both sides of my family, my dad's side and my mom's side, were both musically inclined. So, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, we can hear you just fine.
Yeah,
I had shut my mic off to make sure our background noise wasn't cutting in over you there.
I got you.
Um, was there any particular artist growing up that really kind of drove you into your style of music? Because I know you also have another band project you've got going on as well, correct? You still doing that?
That's right.
You can go ahead and give yourself a shout out on that one so people can go look that one up too, because it's
Yeah,
still good.
it's called The Darkness Live.
Hmm.
My worship project.
Yep. Now, was it really hard for you to kind of decide which way you wanted to go, whether it was worship or just general music on this side?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of call a little bit of flack to some of the people uh, that know me because that I should be singing country music. Um, but I don't listen to them. It really doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, and that's one of those things. If you're going to support one, why not the other? Now, don't get me wrong. If you're playing music that I don't generally like on one side, I'm probably not going to listen to it, but I'm not going to try to discourage you from it. You know,
Right.
and I don't understand um, people that do that, especially from a religious aspect, because I've listened to all of your music, and you still have it's country music. Country music always has a little bit of a faith base to it in one
That's
way
right.
or another. Um, and look, me personally looking at that from a religious aspect, if that gets somebody to start looking into your other music that is your faith based, music, and it pulls them into that and gets them to where they need to be. It's just a slower path, but it's still the path where it needs to be. You know,
Yeah.
so some
Well,
people
I
some
try my
people
best
don't.
to incorporate. Yeah, I try my best to incorporate my faith in the country as well. If you listen to the lyrics, you'll hear it in there.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's sprinkled in there real nice. Well,
Yeah.
that's one of my things, and this is me personally, and I may get a little bit of flack for it, but you know, I'm not a huge faith-based music person. There, don't get me wrong, there's some bands that I really like. There's some songs that I really like, but some of them I just from a music aspect, I'm not a huge fan of. And the way that you do it on your country music and on your Darkness Lies is it's not so over the top that you can enjoy it just as music, even if you're not trying to listen to it for that purpose. But it's
Right.
there. It's there if you want to listen to that portion of it. It's there, but it's not so overpowering that it's taken away from the music itself. Which I think,
That's right.
me personally, that's kind of my deal with most what some people call gospel is. But you know, um, so who's and I'm sure it's your wife. I've talked to you enough, but your biggest supporter being your wife. How does that help you in this endeavor? Because I know you're working full time and really putting in the hours with that, and then you're doing all this as well. With playing and being on TikTok, trying to get your stuff moving there, and what other stuff you're doing as well. How does she like it?
Well, I mean, she supports me.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes she's not really into uh, the work that has to go into it. And I get a lot of flack for spending too much time on networking and stuff like that. And I understand, Mary, she needs me being her like too. I can't forget about her and do my own thing.
Yeah. Kind of like having another full-time job on top of everything, isn't
Everything is
it?
everything. I'm just glad I don't have kids right.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure you can hear ours in the background there. So we
My kids are grown; they take themselves now.
yeah. Yeah, I would imagine that'd be pretty hard to be working full time, trying to chase your music career and keeping the missus happy and keeping control of the kids and all that. I'd imagine that's a hard one to juggle.
It's a lot of work, man.
Oh yeah. So speaking of hard work, what has been the most trying part of you trying to get your music career really being moving? Not that it wasn't moving before, but trying to get it more recognition and more um, stride with it.
And one of the things that's really, I guess, held me up is moving in the wrong direction. I'm flying blind, basically. Never really put the music out before, so it's all trial and error.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, Finding the right people to give it to, like for instance, James Hill over Kicking Country. He he he's got three of my songs right now that they've been playing. Um, that that's been one of the biggest hurdles trying to figure out uh, where to place the music so it's more exposure.
Yeah.
Um, Being a part of Regular Disciples Network, he's got a lot of different artists. Pay attention to what they're doing. I really do. It's good to see. They have a new song being released or whatever, and I can follow in their footsteps. Say I ask questions. Say how do you do that? And just network really helped me a lot.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too is, and any artist that we've talked to, we always, any advice we can give to them that we've seen other artists do that's worked for them, we'll say, hey, this is what we were told has been done. This is what we've been told has been tried by other people, but it's not the same for everybody. You know, there's some artists that they can do a cover song and it go viral and it boosts their music too, and then there's some artists that it's their originals that go viral, and sometimes artists just have to push and push and push because you know not everybody goes viral,
That's
and
right.
and even going viral doesn't sustain the fact that you're going to be a big artist because you have one song hit over 1 million views. That's, you know, in a world of a couple billion people, 1 million people is not, it's a drop in the bucket. You know, um,
Yeah.
and going viral. Most people think that, oh, once you go viral, you're rich. Uh, uh, a video
No.
hitting over 1 million views on any platform is about $1,000. You're not getting rich off of that. You know,
That's
so
right.
and that's another thing that we've talked to with different artists too is, you know, you can't just focus on one thing. You can't focus on just social media. Don't get me wrong. Having a social media presence and a regular social media presence is very helpful. But at the same time,
Yeah.
if you're not playing out live, if you're not pushing your music outside of it like you do with Kicking Country and taking these different podcasts and things like that, um, you're only hitting a limited group of people. It's only when you
That's
start
right.
branching out that you can actually start getting more recognition. And that's another thing with most of the artists that we try to get on here is we want to see that they're already doing that, or that they're wanting to. They're trying to take that next step, and they're either afraid to or they're not sure of how to do it. And whether it be advice from us or advice from other people like Red Dirt Disciple and all those guys that we're connected with, like, hey, if you don't believe us, that's fine, go to these people, they've been doing this longer, or here's somebody
Right.
that we know that has been in the business for a long time, talk to them, or just stop in when they're in one of our lives, talk to them in the chat or listen to what they have to say, or ask them a question when they're in here, because they're always more than happy to help. um,
That's right.
that's one thing I'll say is TikTok has done for us is it's gotten us a lot of different um, connections, and we've got to meet a lot of really cool people that are kind of into the same thing about, we want music to be good. We don't want music to be something cookie cutter that's just done to make money. And so artists
Right.
aren't getting, their rights to their music stripped away completely and all that type of stuff. Um, so now we have uh, Baron audio output is very low, it says. I don't know when that came through. Buck says that. Let's see. That was 20 minutes ago. Um, so I'm going to ask you this question, and now, of course, we're limited to what we have on your Spotify, but we have a 3-part question, and it's first one is always, what is your favorite song that you've written? If you had to pick one, what is your favorite song you've written?
I would probably say Covered Alibi.
Dirt Road Alibi.
Yeah,
That's your
it's super catchy.
Yeah, it is very catchy. Um, so now what really pushes that as your favorite?
Well, one thing I wrote it about my wife. And of course, it's not a true story. It's kind of one of those what if things, but that's one factor. And it kind of explains, where I grew up, how I grew up. So it's got all those factors. And again, I came up with the chorus one day, and I was like, hold up, man, this is going to be a great song. So just the chorus alone by itself is really what pushed me right to that song. But it's just all those things. It's not one thing in particular that makes it my favorite. If I had to break it down in particulars, I'd probably do something else.
There it is. Yeah, no, so we're talking about it. We might as well go ahead and play that for him. What do you think, DJ?
Sounds good.
All right. Well, then we'll get back to our next tough question. I'll go ahead and ask it for you so you can think about it while the song's playing. The next song is which song means the most to you? And I know Dirt Road Alibi may be the one that means the most to you, but you've already used it for your favorite. So think of another one for your song that means the most to you, even if it's second in line. Go ahead with this is Dirt Road Alibi by DJ Rittenhouse. You can stream this on all platforms. If you have trouble finding it, you can look up DJ Rittenhouse on Spotify and find him there. Or you can look up Tunes and Throttles on Spotify, find our playlist, and look him up there. Go ahead. All right. There you go. Now, DJ, I don't know if you could hear that real well from us, but everybody else out there got to hear it real well. And I gotta say, man, that is a the Kid Wrangler. Sorry, guys, that is an amazing song. That they're at the end, that guitar starts shredding there at the end is just amazing. Is that you on the electric guitar, or you just got somebody in there with you?
That's not me. That's a boy named Warren CA.
What was that?
He lives out in Tennessee.
Okay. What was his name?
Warren CA.
Warren CA. Gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah, he well, I tell you what, he tore up on that. Um,
Yes, he did.
you know, you get that southern rock vibe into that song, and it's amazing. Um, you know, and I know, and you know, and that's the hard thing about talking with artists on a regular basis is I know the answer to a lot of questions that I think other people would like to hear, but sometimes those questions don't come up. You know, like your your music as far as your rock side to you. I know you do your country music here, and you've got a rock and roll kind of rock side to you anyway, or southern rock.
Yes, sir.
Now, who's some of the artists that kind of uh not that you necessarily sample off of, but you kind of take their music into account when you're writing and playing your own songs.
Well, I don't really think about it when I'm writing. It just comes out of me. Um, influences like 38 Special, Leonard Skinner, Boston, Journey, like all groups. I grew up listening to all of them.
Oh, did we lose you there?
Nah,
Oh, there you are. Okay, I thought you cut off there for a second. um and you talk Boston and Journey and 38 Special and all that. I did, and I'm pretty sure Farron listened to a lot of that growing up too. uh yeah, yeah, we get into kicks, even though our podcast is mainly country music. There's we listen to a little bit of everything here and there. And we both get into different kicks where we're listening to classic country, somewhat newer country, or we're listening to metal or southern rock, or whatever. You get me on a Temptations or Elvis kick from time to time. But
right there with you.
oh
I
yeah,
call myself a music.
is a what?
I'll be listening to bluegrass, and then I'll go over to heavy metal.
Yep, yep,
I'm a mutt.
yep, yeah. Depending on where I'm at in my ride on the bike, there's sometimes I'm either uh maybe some Barbie girl or not really, but well, there was that one time. But you never know. Never
I'm
know the
not going.
mood or
You're
what the
going there
shuffle's
by
on.
yourself.
Do what?
I said you're going there by yourself.
uh, and that's something funny too. Is my kids get a hold of my phone and start playing music on my Spotify, and I'll be just listening to Spotify DJ or something, and their music will come up, and I'm like, oh no, here we go. Like, I don't want to hear this, but uh, you
Right?
know, but like I said, we enjoy all music here. Now I think we've given you enough time to think about your next question here. What song means the most to you?
That's easy.
Yeah,
Yeah, on the inside.
On the Inside. Why is that?
Well, I wrote that song about my wife,
You wrote that
and
about your wife as well?
yeah,
Okay.
uh, it was about when we first met. Basically, I went through a divorce, and then I met my now wife, Jamie. In the midst of that whole situation, and it really made me come alive. And I'll never forget the way she made me feel. So
Yeah.
that's why I wrote the song.
Helped you take stock of your life and kind of get you back to where you wanted to be.
Yep.
It's amazing. Well, guys, what was that again? On the Inside? On the Inside?
On the inside.
Okay, guys. Here's another song by DJ Rittenhouse called On the Inside. You can find it on all streaming platforms and Spotify. Go ahead, Farron.
Yes, sir.
That's it right there. That's it right there. You know, especially that line about, it's better than what's the pain on the inside. That's that's an amazing song. You know, um, and speaking from that stance of going through a divorce and stuff like that. When you've actually been through that and you hear a song that really kind of brings that to life for you. Oh, wow, there's light. Uh, um, you know, you just you capture that so well. About how you're that that song it kind of brings out your hurt and shows it there, and then shows how somebody can actually pull you out of that to help you. Um, Before we go on too far though, here, um, Red Dirt's mentioned here on TikTok about Nashville coming up soon, and can't wait to hang out with you and do some street interviews with you. Is that down there in November?
Yeah, I'm gonna do my best to get down there and hang out with. I want to go to the Josie Awards. The artists that are going to be there.
Yeah. I don't know if we'll make it. I'd really love to. We've got quite a few artists that have been on here that are up for a Josie Award this year. Um, are you up for a Josie this year?
I'm not. I didn't know. Again, I didn't know anything about it till the last minute. So,
Yeah. Well, I don't
but
know.
I promise you,
I don't know. No. Okay. So I think all the Josie Award nominees are already done. I think the ISSA, which is International Singer Songwriters, so whatever, is I think they go until August or September before they close all of their stuff for that. So you never know. You still get a nomination for that as well. Because you never know who's listening. Whether
yeah,
you're on our podcast, your stuff on TikTok, anything that you've ever done, you never know who's listening to you.
that's
Um,
right.
and
With
it's
the
not.
Josie Awards, you have to send the song into them,
What was that?
and then they with the Josie Awards, you have to send the song into them, and then
Yes.
they'll let you know whether or not it's been nominated.
Yes. You have to send it in, then you have to be nominated as
Yeah.
uh, um,
But honestly, the main reason I'm going is because Sarah Beth's been nominated. I just want to go support her.
do what was that?
So the main reason I want to go after November is because Sarah Beth has been nominated.
Yeah. Yeah, we have plans to have Sarah Beth on here. We've got some dates plans. We're not going to put those out yet, just because things can change. We've had uh, Kevin Thomas on here. He's nominated this year as well. We had another one, Aaron Stoll. She had to cancel last minute because she was sick as well not too long ago. We have a rescheduled date for her as well, and it's just one of those things. We'd really like to get down there and be around everybody and all that. I just, with how it is with work and family, you can't always make everything work out together. So
Oh yeah.
um, now we have one more kind of harder question for you still, um, and we can give you some time to answer if you don't have it right away. But it's what song has surprised you the most, either as well as it has done, or as bad as it has done, whether it be live performance or online?
Neon.
Neon,
Neon's done better than the song.
and that surprised you?
Well, I mean, it's a good song, sure, but I mean, all the other ones are too, in my opinion. Of course, I'm biased, but
Yeah, you're a little partial on that, I think, though. I'm just
just
kidding.
a little bit.
I like all of your songs. I don't think you have a bad song, but you think Neon is the one that's really kind of did better than what you thought it would.
Yeah, because I mean, it's kind of like with the chorus, for instance. It leaves room for you to fill in the gap. You're like staring at a neon. What's that mean? I've had that question a lot.
Staring
What's a
at a
neon?
neon?
Neon.
I can tell you exactly what staring at a neon is. You're sitting at a place that serves cold ones, and you're in your
Yes,
own head
sir.
just staring at that neon light, trying to figure out your life while you're catching a catching some suds there.
Yes, sir. That's all. I mean, really, it's about the struggle. You go through this heartache, and then with me being a faith-based person, I believe in God, and I having this conversation with Him. I'm like, hey, I'm here. I'm looking up to know Him. I still believe in you.
Well, and that's the thing too with faith is you don't have to be perfect to believe, and you don't have to be perfect for. Oh, sorry, I was checking audio again. You don't have to be perfect to believe, and you don't have to be on the correct path to believe either. That's the whole purpose of your faith is to find the path of where you need to be, and you know take the road that you need to get on. You may not be on that road at the time, but that doesn't mean you're
Right.
less of a person or less of a believer. It just means you're on a different path than somebody else.
The bottom line is we're all messed up.
Yes. Yep. Nobody's perfect. You know.
That's right.
But let's go ahead and we'll play Neon. I'm gonna step out for a second while Neon is playing. I'm not disappearing. I'll be back before the song's over. Um, so we're gonna go ahead and play Neon again, guys. You can always find DJ Rittenhouse on every streaming platform. You can also find him, especially on Spotify. And if you have issues finding him for some odd reason, because your fingers don't work right or you just don't know how to use technology, go find him on our playlist on Spotify, Tunes and Throttles. It has every artist that we've had on the show. Um, and anytime we have a new artist come up, we throw all of their music on it as well. I think we're over 120 songs right now. So we've got a couple hours of music for you, but it's very easy to find an artist on our playlist. So Farron's going to go ahead and play that, and I'm going to be quiet for a second. Going to change it up. there you are. I
Sure.
will say sorry to you guys on YouTube for some reason. You can hear it. It's not very loud for some reason. It's not like the way we're inputting it for some reason. TikTok's getting amazing sound out of it though. Um, so again, guys, if you want to hear them, especially you guys on YouTube, whether you're watching this live or after the fact, if you want to hear it better, you can always go look it up on Spotify. Um, so that was your surprise song, huh? That was one that surprised you the most.
Yeah, I kind of got some negative feedback on.
Well,
So for
being
performing the way it has, it was
yeah.
for us.
Well, and I can understand, getting a little kickback from going from doing your faith based to switching over and you're talking about sitting at a neon and the whiskey doesn't help and all that. I can see where they're coming from, somebody being a little upset there. Hold
I
on
just
one
told the truth.
second. We had an intruder.
Fact of the matter is,
One of them got
I
through
went
our
to the
blockade.
divorce
What was that,
and I
DJ?
spent some time at Bob.
Yeah, hey, anybody that's been through that, I don't know very few that haven't. You know, I've been there myself, so I understand it completely. It doesn't change who you are as a person, and I know I know you've been through quite a bit of hard times, whether it was growing up and all that, but yeah, um, but it doesn't change who you are as a person. It actually makes who you are as a person. I know any of
That's
the
right.
hard times I've went through in life, people are like, okay, well, you talk about it like it's a good thing. I mean, no, it wasn't a good thing that, I made mistakes and, made my life harder at times, but it is what made me who I am today.
That's
So
right.
we do have a question from our YouTube chat and TikTok. If you guys have any questions as well, go ahead and throw those out. Farron, what's our YouTube question here from who?
Our good friend Chasing Ghost says she's still doing covers, but she's working on her own music. She has a lot of lyrics. She's trying to put chords to it without sounding too much like her influences. Do you have any advice on that?
Well, one thing that I do is if I start singing songs I'm writing and it sounds too much like somebody else's stuff, I might try changing the chords, dressing up a little bit, or I'll just ban it entirely because I don't want to be like somebody.
Mhm.
I want to stand out.
You want your music to be you, not somebody else.
That's right.
Well, and I know talking to other artists that we have, sometimes rewriting the song or starting completely over or even taking a break from it. Sometimes, we've had some artists that say that they've been, on a certain song and just pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing on it for days, weeks, months, years, and they're just kind of blind to it. And then when they go try something else, kind of put that song down for a little while and kind of forget about it and come back to it. And they're like, oh, no, I don't want to do it that way. I want to do it this way. And then it finally comes to them.
Yeah,
And, but, it doesn't work for everybody. Not everybody works the same and not everything works the same for everybody. Just because it works for somebody else doesn't mean it works for you. Um,
that's right.
but Chasing Ghost, that was a great question. Not only for you, but for any other listeners there. Especially getting the advice from an actual artist instead of somebody that speaks into a microphone. Because I can tell you what music is good and what music isn't in my own opinion, but I can't make it. I can't. Tried. Doesn't work. Sounds like old McDonald. Um, Now, speaking of advice for other artists, better get. Oh, we gotta get our puzzle piece here for TikTok. Make sure we're still moving. Um, what's something, especially because you really started pushing your career at a later stage in life than what some do. What's some tips that you can give for people doing that, or things to look out for, even?
Well, one of the biggest tip is don't quit. And I've been in this a couple times. Um, life has a way of coming at you and making you want to stop. And if you stop, you'll never. You just got to keep pushing.
Hold on, you cut out there a little bit. You said if you stop, you'll never what?
If you stop, you'll never go. You got to keep pushing.
You cut out again, right at the same point, man.
I think it's because of the delay.
Because of what?
I said if you stop, you'll never reach your goals.
That's right, absolutely. It's kind of like the old. I think it was the old Michael Jordan quote: "You miss 100% of the shots you don't take." You know.
That's right.
It's Wayne Gretzky.
Oh, is that Wayne Gretzky? Well,
Or
It's a
it's
fact.
Michael Scott quoting Wayne Gretzky.
there you go. Well, Michael Jordan took that to heart because he shot every shot he could. Don't get me wrong, I love Michael Jordan. He's the greatest of all time in my opinion. But it is true, he took a lot of shots. But and that is true. And here's another thing that we've found too. No, we're not musicians, but working in the capacity that we do, asking a question to somebody to try to further what you're doing is never a bad thing, because the worst thing they can say is no. But you never
Yep.
know the answer unless you ask the question. You want to
That's
play
right.
you want to play at Billy Bob's, right? Well, there's a question for you. What is your number one venue in the country, in the world, that would be like, you play there, that is it. That is your number one place you've dreamed of playing. And on top of that, who are you opening with, or who are you sharing that stage with that night?
I really haven't thought about
Thank you.
this yet. Um, I don't despise humble beginnings, and if it's 3 people or 3,000 people, it's not really that important to me. I want people to hear my music. And that's my goal.
Yeah.
For whatever.
Well, you pause there, DJ. Did you say in whatever capacity possible?
Yeah, like that's pretty much my goal. I don't strive for the big crowd, and I
Yeah.
don't despise the crowd.
Yeah. Well, and I really like that answer. I'm going to tell you why, and I'm not going to knock any other artist because they've said something different. Because I enjoy that question for the purpose of, like, Tim Crosby. Tim Crosby was the same way. Tim Crosby has been a musician for a long time, and he has a lot of original. He's very good. I said, kind of the same thing. And Tim's like, I really don't care. He goes, as long as I have a good crowd that's actually listening to my music and it helps them or they're hearing it, I enjoy it.
Yeah, I think his answer was some music room in like Missouri or something,
Yep.
wasn't it?
Yep. It was the blues something, I believe. I'm not going to try to say it because it'll be wrong. But, and it's just, um, people have different stages. Some people say, if I get to play the Grand Old Opry, then I know that I've made it. And like Tim Crosby's
That
was,
that would be great.
do what?
Really, the Grand Ole Opry would be great.
Yes, it would. Yes, it would.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, for myself, if I was a musician, the Grand Old Opry, whether I was a big musician or not, would be my number one place to play, just because the historical effect of the Grand Old Opry. That would be my number one, just because it's the Grand Old Opry. I don't care if I ever made any money. if I got to play at the Grand Ole Opry and I could choose the people I shared the stage with that night, being Johnny Cash or George Jones or Merle Haggard or Waylon, Toby Keith, Travis Tritt, I would have such a show that night that it'd be worth millions. But that's me personally, just because those are guys that I've always looked up to and I've always really enjoyed their music. And they've really set a tone for me personally. But just having like you said, just somebody listening to your music and actually getting something out of it is more important it's more important than where you're playing or who's playing with you.
Yeah.
Now and I don't
I've
know
sang from
what was that?
I've sang in front of close to 1,000 people,
How many was that?
and around 1,000 people,
Uh-huh.
and I've sang in front of 5.
Yeah.
And the crowd, the size of the crowd, doesn't mean much to me at all.
Yeah.
But if I had to answer that question for its depth, I definitely would want to be in the Grand Ole Opry stage.
Oh yeah. I don't really know
And
very many
just
people that wouldn't play at the Grand Ole Opry.
dude, that would be an honor, man. Like I've reached the top.
Yeah. Yeah, you've reached a point of well, and here's the thing. Playing at the Grand Ole Opry, it's not just the crowd. It's you are now a part of music history forever.
Yeah.
You can go play Billy Bob's. You can go
Right.
play state fairs. You can play for the Super Bowl. And don't get me wrong, the Super Bowl is a big deal. But at the same time, it's not the same as having your name on the list of the Grand Ole Opry. And there's a lot of artists even that you've never even heard of and maybe never will that have played at the Grand Ole Opry, whether it be that they were the person on the stage for the day and they were the main star or they were just playing backup for somebody. Um, there's such a huge list, but just being a footnote in that, and that's kind of one of our things too here is, if one of our artists that's been on this or an artist comes on that is already just ginormous, blows up, becomes biggest of the big, or we get one of the biggest of the big on here, our thing is we're just happy to be a footnote in that career, whether it be at the start
Right.
or while they're at the top. We don't care. Just as long as we are getting good music out there. Because I'm going to tell you now, there are some artists out there that are huge that if they were to be on our podcast, the only reason they're going to be on here is for us to ask them why their music is terrible, or you know, um, and or just to have the conversation of why their music turned the way that it did after they came out and was really good and was real country music, and then it just turns, whatever. Because that happens a lot too. Um, Now, and here's another question from us here is, are you wanting to stay independent, or are you wanting to have a record label help you push your music?
Well, I would say I want to stay in because I don't want to control.
You said what? You want to stay independent because of what?
I don't want to be controlled.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah, I don't
That's
want people telling me I can go somewhere and how I'm going to do it.
yeah. What to
I'm
wear,
not
what
that
to
guy.
play, what you can and can't
Yeah,
record. Yeah. No.
I'm not that guy.
No. Well, and and believe it or not, there are actually quite a few labels out there um, that want to push independent artists under the guidelines of you're an independent artist. We're here to help push your music. We're here to help you produce your music. And that's as far as they want to go. Now, they may own the rights. They may own 40 to 50% of what you make, but they're there to help you get your start. You know,
Yeah,
and I can, if you want, I can. I mean, I don't know. I can tell you who some of them are just from talking to different artists. That reaching out to them may help you. It may not. I don't know. I don't have the connection as far as here's their number. Call them. They're gonna know who I am. It's just here's an avenue that I know these guys actually do that. We can do that
Right.
later, though. I'm not going to do that over here.
Well, that's
Because,
part of my. If something came down that benefited me,
mm,
not just them,
yeah.
then maybe I will consider.
Well, and used to be it was really hard to find that in the music industry. And don't get me wrong, it's not super easy out there anymore either. But it's starting to seem, and may just be because I'm looking more and more, and I'm hearing more and more. There are quite a few of them out there that try to give artists a fair deal. And it comes down to how much you want to put in and how much you want to push. Now, I am all for artists being independent and doing their own thing to the point that
Right.
we say, hey, you come down here, record whatever song you want of your originals, and we'll do whatever you want with it. It is yours to have. We just want you to have a good recording so you can put it out on Spotify and things like that. I'm all for people being independent and getting their music where it needs to be. But sometimes being a part of a label that has the money to back you to get your music pushed, on the radio and those types of things helps you, you know, definitely helps more than it hurts. Um, but you got to be careful. Some of those record labels out there are definitely music pirates, what I like to call them. So
Well, I can promise you this: I'm not signing anything unless a lawyer looks at it.
unless a what?
Unless a lawyer looks at it.
Yes, and make sure it's a lawyer from a different state that has nothing to do with the label, because you'd be surprised what labels are attached to what and where their lawyers are. I mean, that is definitely something I have heard over and over and over is to when you get one, get your own lawyer that deals with
Yep.
that is in a different state than anything that record label has to do with. So if you're dealing with a smaller record label and they're attached to a bigger one and they've got places all over, try to get a lawyer that has nothing to do with them and out of the state. Because unless it's a lawyer that personally that doesn't have any ties to them, you never know what kind of backroom deals are going on.
That's right.
Do we have any more questions out of the chat there on TikTok or YouTube?
No, it doesn't seem like it. I
Okay.
was gonna make a comment. I thought music pirates what we were back in the day with LimeWire and Napster and all that.
No, I mean, kind of, except when we were doing that. Never mind, I'm not going to say that. If it was somebody other than DJ, I probably would have said it. I don't want to.
You're not going to offend me at all.
We got diseases from doing that on our computers. What are those, MTDs? Is that what they call them? Musically transferred, man. My computer crashed. So I'll tell you a story about that real quick. I know it's not really my story time, but I'm going to do it anyway. My dad is huge into music and all genres, which is why I have an appreciation for music like I do. We had, I don't know, tens of thousands of songs downloaded from LimeWire and stuff like that. And our computer caught a virus to where we couldn't use it anymore. It was so slow, we couldn't do nothing and all that. So my dad got those tall cases of CDs, and he sat there for almost a month. We got a new computer that wasn't connected to it, almost a month doing nothing but burning CDs so we could keep all of the music, and then downloaded it down onto the new computer because there's no viruses because it was the CD. He still has them too. Still has them to this day. Hell, I've got some of them because we had our own mix CDs and stuff like that. But yeah, so there was ways around that. You just had to have a computer you didn't care about. You know,
Yes, sir.
The whole reason I became a nerd because I had to fix my computer after downloading music.
no, you were a nerd before that too,
No,
buddy.
no.
Yeah, I know.
No,
He,
because this was like fourth, fifth grade before you knew me.
yeah, I met him once then, and he was a nerd. Yeah. The first time we met, it's a funny story. We'll have to do that at a different time though. But so DJ, you know, I you don't have to. I know you've done it multiple times. You know, talking about your past and some of the troubles you went through trying to, you know, getting to where you are now. Um, you don't have to talk about your past if you don't want to, but you know, people that are going through a hard time that they want to be a musician, but they're making all the wrong choices in life, whether they're, you know, having substance problems or if they're having problems with, you know, the law or whatever, you know, not that, you know, not that you were big into either one of those, but what's some advice
Well, I
you'd
love it.
give a younger kid like that, or even a middle-aged adult having issues with that really want to chase their career?
I'll answer that with a question.
Yeah,
What's most important to you?
there you go.
If it's drugs, what are you going to say? If it's the music, you're going to find a way.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one there. You know, you put somebody on their own accord of trying to decide what they really need in their life. You know, um, you know, I know some people have a hard time kicking that type of stuff or hard time really making the right decisions. But you're right, when it comes down to it, you make the decision for what you really want in your life.
Yeah. Like I said, I've been there, done that, man. I've done a lot of stuff. I can't say because of TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
I've done a lot of stuff.
Well, and you know, and I, like I said, you know, knowing your story from hearing on other things and just knowing you and talking with you as much as I have, you know, DJ is one of the greatest guys you'll ever meet, talk to, and whatnot. But I guarantee what, 25, 30 years ago, that was not the case.
Yeah, I was a hard head.
Yeah. Well, I can say now, I mean, 10, 15 years ago, I probably would have smacked shit out of myself. I know that for sure. You know?
I did a couple times 10, 15 years ago.
There you go. Yeah. You know, and that's another thing we always preach is just because you're in a place doesn't mean that you have to stay there. You know,
That's right.
you take account for yourself and you push on past that and actually, like you said, decide what's important to you and do what you need for that. Um, Now, do you have anything else coming out anytime soon?
I've got a lot of material. I just got to get the money to put it through production.
Yay. Yeah, you know they call it music business for a reason. It ain't free and it ain't easy. It is a
That's
business.
right.
You know, a lot of people mistake that as I'm a musician and someone will hear my music and it'll take off. Well, no, it's a business, and you have to run it like
Yeah.
one. You have to put money into it. You've got to put the time and effort into it as well.
Right
Um,
now, the song that I want, it's called Country Run Deep.
it's called Country What?
Country Runs Deep.
Country Runs Deep. That's the next one you're working on releasing.
Yeah. If I mean, I'm this close. I just got to get the money together.
Hey, I understand that. Like I said, we're some of our stuff isn't where it needs to be for this podcast yet. For the same reason, we gotta get the money together to do it. You know, nothing's free.
Yeah.
Um, No, we're getting near our end here. Um, what we normally like to ask is, you know, any advice or anything for any musicians starting out or pushing, which we've kind of went over. Is there anything you'd like to add to what you've already said to that point?
Yeah, the people just starting out, don't be a copy. Find what makes you groove and stay there. Don't be like Ghost Mode because he's got a number one on the radio.
Yeah.
Be yourself.
Yeah, there was a I seen a post not too long ago about I don't know, it's probably been 3 or 4 months ago that two artists come out with new songs. They were almost identical, sounded identical. Like you said, be yourself, be authentic. Um,
Yeah,
because you can sound like somebody else and maybe get a hit, maybe go viral, but nothing sells like being yourself. Even if you don't
that's
think
right.
nobody wants to listen to you and this, that, and the other. Look at Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson came into music and was denied over and over. Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, all of them were denied because they didn't like this about him. They didn't like their voice. They didn't like this, that, or the other. Didn't think that that's the person that should have been pushed, didn't have the personality, whatever. They were all denied more than once. And they kept pushing, kept being themselves. Didn't change the way they did things, didn't change who they were.
Right.
They continued pushing and being who they were and pushing and pushing and pushing until they finally got their break. And then the rest is history. They're names that will always be remembered as country music. They're in the Country Music Hall of Fame, and they will always be referred to because of what they did. And it's not because they sound like somebody else. It's not because they said, okay, fine, I'll do what you guys say and be the person you want me to be. No, they continued being themselves until the end of their career. And, not all of them are done. They're not, actually, I don't think any of those guys are done. A couple of them are getting close, though. That old age will get to you. So, DJ,
Willie Nelson, he's up there.
yeah, Willie's up there. He's last outlaw and the last highwayman left. Well, one of the last
Yeah,
outlaws. Um, so we got a couple minutes here. We'd like to play another 1 to 2 songs of yours. What would they be?
I think we played them all, but let it roll.
Let it roll. Do you want us to replay another one, or you just want that one to be our final out of here?
Yeah, close it up.
What was that?
We can close and let it roll.
All right. We're going to play Let It Roll on Spotify by DJ Rittenhouse. We'll come back, say our goodbyes afterwards. But, guys, again, go look up DJ Rittenhouse on all platforms that you stream music. Look him up on TikTok. Give him a follow. Same thing on YouTube. And the video is already clipped for YouTube for where he is. Again, if you can't find him for some reason, go to Tunes and Throttles playlist on Spotify, and you can find him right there. Here's Let It Roll. Let It Roll. Play it, Farron. All right. That was a pretty good one to end on there. Get you nice and hyped up, get ready to go do something else when we're done here, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
All right. DJ, we want to thank you so much for being on here. It's such a pleasure and an honor having you on here as a guest. You guys really don't know what it means to have guests like you on here. You know, take a chance with a podcast like ours. You know, we're pretty small still. We're still moving, and I know you're growing as well. But just having the opportunity to have you on here and talking with us, and giving us the opportunity to help push your music, it means a lot to us. It really does. Um,
Sir.
and for you guys in the chat and watching this after the fact, we appreciate you as much, because without you, it doesn't give us purpose for doing this, because yes, we want their music pushed and stuff, but if you're not watching, we're not helping. As long as we get one new listener for you, we've done our job, in my opinion.
That's right.
We will continue. Like I said, we have quite a few going. Oh, okay. I thought TikTok died for a second. We have quite a bit coming up still. July 19th is our next episode with a good guy named TJ Peterson. I don't know if you swung through his lives or not. TJ Peterson normally runs a kind of open mic karaoke on his TikTok on a regular basis. He's a very good musician as well. He's in the middle of getting his stuff recorded to get it out there, and he's starting to push, and we really wanted to help him out in any way that we could. We talked to him quite a bit outside of the TikTok world, kind of like you. So we'll have him July 19th, 5 to 7. 5 to 7, July 19th. We're going to have TJ on here. He's going to be a remote guest as well, unless something changes last minute for him. So definitely check that out. And again, if you guys are not following DJ Rittenhouse on all platforms, he's got Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Go snatch him up. Go look him over. Go follow him on Spotify. You following him on Spotify gives him more monthly listeners, which pushes his music out to more people. And the same on any other listening platform. If you can follow the artist, go follow them. If you can put their music in a playlist because you enjoy it, definitely do it. Also, again, you can always download our playlist and go through and follow all the artists that you enjoy on there as well. Outside of that, DJ, do you have anything else for the folks?
Pretty much sums it up. You got to keep hustling.
All right.
As Red says,
Go for it.
hustle hard. Well, I think I might have said it backwards.
Oh, say it again. You cut
But
out. Say it again. You cut out.
stay humble and hustle hard.
There you go. There you go. We always like to give.
That's Red right.
Yep, we love to give Red Dirt Disciple a shout out anytime we can. He's been a big help when we first started this. He was one of them that we reached out to and said, "Hey, we're in the same area as you as far as what we're doing. We're not trying to be the same. I want to work together with anybody and everybody that we can." And he's definitely been a big help. So, DJ, you have a great night. Thank you so much for being on here. You guys watching this at home, whether it's live or you're watching this recording later, thank you so much for stopping by. And if this is your first time, go ahead and like and follow us here so you can find more artists like DJ here and find some more music that you don't have to search for, because we've got it for you. Thank you guys so much and have a great night. Oh, come on. Hit the buttons right, Farron. Hit them right. Get us out of here. Oh, no.